Hello, and welcome to the IMRF Forward Look webinar 2023. My name's Caroline Jeep, and I'm the IMRF's CEO Designate. I'm thrilled today to be joined in this webinar by Matthew Fader from the Swedish Sea Rescue Society, Jeffrey Denham from the Canadian Coast Guard, and Captain Yuri Nordstrom from the Finnish Lifeboat Institution. As you can see, we have a packed schedule ahead of us. As always, if you have any questions, please write them in the chat box and we'll answer them in the panel discussion at the end where all speakers are present. First off, Matthew and I will be giving an overview of what the IMRF has planned for 2023. This will be followed by Jeffrey Denham from the Canadian Coast Guard Western Region, offering his perspectives on the opportunities and challenges he sees in 2023. Following from Jeffrey will be Yuri Nordstrom, offering a perspective from the Finnish Lifeboat Institution, along with how he sees the IMRF supporting his organisation this year. Lastly, as said, there'll be the panel discussion. Firstly, I thought it would be really good just to give a quick overview of what the IMRF is. At its core, I think the IMRF improves global SAR capability worldwide, saving lives. There are two main threads to this work. One is the projects we run, which you'll hear more on, such as our Mass Rescue Operation project, the project we have developing SAR capability in Africa in collaboration with the IMO. But we also are a membership organisation. I'm conscious that we'll have a lot of members today joining us from this webinar, but I'm sure there's some of you who aren't IMRF members, and we'd love you to join us. Membership is open to any SAR organisation involved or associated with maritime SAR, and we have a whole range of benefits. You'll hear from the speakers later on about how the IMRF supports them and their organisations, and I hope this encourages you to join us. More details can be found on our pages, or you can email me, c.jeep@imrf.org.uk. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, moving on, what is the IMRF's plan for 2023? Matthew and I are going to be presenting this together, so I'll do my slides and then then Matthew will join. I want to ensure we have a packed schedule ahead, but as we always do, we'll regularly communicate with you about what's happening and how you can get involved. If you haven't already, you can follow us on our social media channels, such as LinkedIn, or you can sign up to our mailing list and receive, if you're a member, our SAR Hub and our new IMRF Weekly, which is launching later this month. As always, and in keeping with making sure that we reach out to all of our members across the world, we have a number of webinars planned this year, and I'm hugely excited that our next webinar coming up will be for our SAR UOK project, which is our IMRF Mental Health and Wellbeing project. This will be in April, and I believe it will be a sector-first maritime SAR mental health and wellbeing workshop. We also, on June the 21st, have our in-person quadrangular general meeting. This is eligible for members to attend. More details of this will be sent very soon to you, so please keep a lookout for them if you're an IMRF member. As always, we'll have our panels. We have the Future Technology panel, which is for members only, and I'm really excited that later this year we're going to be launching a new panel. Keep an eye out for further details on this. As always, an important aspect of the IMRF work is our SAR advocacy, and will continue to represent you, our members, and the wider maritime SAR community at the International Maritime Organization, in particular on working groups such as the ICAO-IMO Joint Working Group on SAR. Leading on to this, we're also going to be this year forming a working group to develop a model training course based on our basic rescue boat operator course. More details on this will be launched at our World Maritime Rescue Congress. We're also going to be moving into the next phase of our MRO project, and working with my fellow MRO SME experts, we're currently looking at a review of our MRO guidance. We're also setting the agenda of what this project should look like in the next couple of years. So Tom and I have a short poll. Tom, it would be great if you could flash it up and if you could answer the questions in it. That would be really helpful. Tom, have you got the poll ready? Okay, if not, when it comes on, just if you could answer the 2 questions, thank you. I'm also thrilled that our Women in SAR project is continuing to go from strength to strength. And this year we have 2 Women in SAR seminars planned in Africa in collaboration with the IMO. The first one will be in Rabat next month, and the second one will be in Kenya. We'll have 26 women from across Africa joining us, and I'm hugely thrilled at this prospect. We'll also carry on with enhancing SAR capability in Africa. Last year, we reached 24 countries for our in-person and online training program, and I'm really confident we'll do the same again. And I have my colleagues over at the Asia Pacific Regional Centre who are also working on their program of events in their region for this year. So that's from me. It now gives me great pleasure in handing you over to Matthew Fader, who will run through the rest of the projects and activities that we have planned and how you can get involved. But more importantly, I look forward to meeting you over the course of the year, and I look forward to working with you as always. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So hello to everyone, SAR friends and colleagues from around the globe. Thank you very much for attending. Yes, Caroline, you mentioned the SAR UOK. We started this program in the fall and has started put together the work group. And I can say that we have 10 or 12 fantastic, knowledgeable people from as equal amount a number of organizations. A lot of these people work with not only policies and structure, but are practitioners in mental health care and psychological first aid. So we're putting together the first online workshop and really looking forward to some very knowledgeable expert speakers just talking about their experiences dealing with it specifically in the maritime SAR domain. So that's the first one, and I believe the date is correct, Caroline. 26th of April. If there's any changes, just keep an eye out on the newsletters and the website if the date changes, but there'll be some very exciting stuff coming up. Very, very happy to say that we had a meeting last week with a lot of the lifeboat crew exchange coordinators, a group of friends and coordinators that have been working together for almost a decade now. And we are going to go live again. We're going to attempt, if everything works out well, health-wise, pandemic-wise, and global conditions, that will launch the European Lifeboat Crew Exchange again for 2023. And this usually takes place, and most likely will take place in September of 2023, usually the last week. And we're looking now to see what organizations are on board in Europe. So also, again, keep an eye out for when that information comes out. It most likely will be coming through your local SAR organization of how details to how to apply to it and who is eligible. For those of you who are not familiar with the program, it's really just gaining different experience, specialist lifeboat and SAR experience, where each organization sends a number of people, say 7 usually, to 7 different organizations. And you build upon that and improve professional knowledge. And what I think is one of the most giving is that you experience working in a transnational team, which can kind of translate maybe into international waters in and around your countries when we're dealing with bilateral agreements and so forth. The most important thing is that you build a future network. A lot of the people that you meet on these crew exchanges become friends for life. And I still have contact with most people that I've met through the past 10, 11 years. But obviously for the past 2 years, we've been online. So it feels really good to get back live again. Just to give you a glimpse, about 519 crew members have participated since 2012. And everyone would recommend it to their organizations. And most people have really experienced they've learned something new. So it's not just about driving other boats, but something in the SAR methodology they can bring home and perhaps disseminate in their own organization that's applicable. The IMRF awards will be running for 2023 again. And again, there'll be information coming out about the different deadlines and how to apply. I really like the awards. It is our Oscars, our Emmys, our Grammys, but not in the egoistic way. It's about telling the story. All our organizations do fantastic things, and just to nominate people and bring it to light at a centrally organized organization like the IMRF, it feels good. I like to read about different stories about individual achievements and team innovation, and it's not that many other forums that we'd get to see it. So the awards will be coming again, so keep an eye out for that. Obviously, one of the biggest events of this year, the Quadrennial Congress. So the WMRC 2023 in Rotterdam, hosted by KNRM, is going to be that opportunity for the whole SAR, maritime SAR world to gather together and exchange, cooperate, collaborate, listen to other people. So definitely recommend signing up. But the few important dates that are coming up. So you have the 3rd of February, which is next Friday. You have the abstract submissions deadline. So if your organization or you personally have something to talk about, get those abstracts in so that the program committee can review them and see how it slots in with the rest of the program. And then you have towards the middle of March 17th is the early registration deadline to get a better rate. And then by 15th of May, there's the regular registration and accommodation booking. So I really look forward to seeing, hopefully everyone here on this list that's attending today is able to come to the Congress in Rotterdam. On top of the agenda for WMRC 2023 is sustainability. We like to hear more about how different organizations are working on these issues. Which leads me into one of the future work groups. We're hoping to put together during 2023 experts and people that work with sustainability and climate change within their organizations. It'll differ definitely will differ from maybe the future technologies group that looks more into innovative technologies and solutions within their organizations that maybe have to do with boats. But there might be some crossover, but we'll also look at energy usage, is how your organization deals with power and rising costs of different things, climate change when it comes to rising sea levels, weather patterns, and so forth. So keep an eye out. We're looking to launch this sometime during the spring, the work group. And moving on in the year, I don't want to get to the end of the year yet, 2023, but there's a European regional meeting will be in person this year. Where? We're not sure yet, but sometime in October or November, depending on how it lines up with everything else, looking to have an in-person meeting. And just like the WMRC or previous conference in Gothenburg with the mass rescue last year, it's really about getting people together, and the discussions that go on outside of sessions and presentations are really where the magic happens. So hopefully see everyone then. And I'm going to pass on to the next speaker. We have Jeff Denman from the Canadian Coast Guard. Jeff, take it over.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone, everywhere in the world. My name is Jeff Denman. I am currently a rescue officer at the Joint Rescue Coordination Center in Victoria, BC, in Western Canada. I would like to start my session today by recognizing and acknowledging the traditional territory of the Lekwungen-speaking people, now known as the Esquimalt and Songhees First Nation, where I'm located today. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank the IMRF to highlight opportunities and challenges for the Canadian Coast Guard search and rescue programs in Western Region for 2023. The following is a summary of some of the opportunities and challenges recognized by Canadian Coast Guard in Western Region 2023. I'm going to highlight those for opportunities: interagency training, Canadian Coast Guard auxiliary expansion, and mass rescue operation community frameworks. Some of the challenges we face in Western Region are recruitment and retention of personnel in the maritime sector and increased cruise ship traffic on the Pacific coast. I'm going to take this opportunity to just talk a little bit about the Canadian Coast Guard Western Region area of responsibility, which includes the province of British Columbia, which makes up 27,000 kilometers of coastline, where it meets the Alaska border to the north and the Washington state border to the south. The Canadian Coast Guard SAR assets in Western Region include 14 motor lifeboat stations, 2 hovercraft, 4 inshore rescue boat stations, which are seasonal, 6 large offshore patrol vessels, and 2 large emergency tow vessels, which patrol the Pacific coast. I'm going to talk to you now about some of the Joint Rescue Coordination Center search and rescue statistics. So I just wanted to kind of highlight, this is a grab of time from 2011 to 2020, broken out into 3 categories: air, humanitarian, and maritime cases. You'll notice from the graph that there was a significant drop in 2019 to 2020 during the start of the pandemic. Maritime SAR cases make up approximately 80% of all cases on this coast, which then are also supplemented with the air and humanitarian as well. Some of the training opportunities include interagency SAR training with our SAR partners. So we have an ongoing schedule of interagency training exercises, which includes participation by maritime assets from federal, provincial, and municipal agencies and First Nations and volunteers. Exercise themes are often derived from real case JRCC incidents, which involve a search component, a medical response, towing operations, communications, designed to assist in maintaining valuable skill sets and interoperability. The Search and Rescue Programs team conducts an average of 22 of these exercises each year all over the West Coast, along with other training, to continue to build SAR capacity, both internally and with external partners. I want to talk a little bit now about some technology. So the use of AIS data marker buoy technology for search and rescue purposes is currently under review to meet international requirements by the IMO SOLAS. Currently, no specific definition for a type class for SAR purposes exists, only a class A or B for ships or aids to navigation ones. The importance of having real-time AIS data for data marker buoys for SAR cases means all surface units and JRCC can track and monitor the drift of an object in the water, which will increase probability for detection for persons in distress. Another opportunity is expansion of the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary, and those opportunities include development of the Coastal Nations Coast Guard Auxiliary. So in 2018, the Coastal Nations Coast Guard Auxiliary was established as a chapter under the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary with 4 member nations, and has since grown to 8 Coastal Nations Coast Guard Auxiliary stations on the BC coast to support 24/7 SAR operation, increasing that fabric of search and rescue. One of the other things, the other opportunities we have are development of MRO community frameworks. So the intent behind the development of these community MRO frameworks is to support the Canadian Armed Forces and Canadian Coast Guard MRO plan, and to define roles and responsibilities for shoreside federal, provincial, and municipal agencies to support an MRO response. The purpose of the MRO framework is to provide for a rapid and organized and coordinated shoreside response to an MRO involving hundreds or thousands of evacuated passengers from either a cruise ship or a large passenger vessel. The framework identifies predetermined landing sites, reception centers, transportation, emergency operations centers, and important contacts. I'm going to talk now about some of the challenges that we experience in the Western region. Some of those challenges include recruitment and retention of personnel in the maritime sector, which is a global challenge many organizations are facing post-pandemic today. Another challenge we have is increasing cruise ship numbers on the west coast of Canada due to the large interest in the Alaska cruising destination, which increases risk for the SAR community and has prompted the Canadian Coast Guard to continue to develop the shore-based MRO frameworks. Another challenge off the site is expansion of the Coast Guard Auxiliary with Coastal Nations Coast Guard Auxiliary. There's an increased demand to train and equip more First Nation responders for the SAR system. It's something we enjoy doing. I want to take an opportunity to highlight some of the pillars we see as successes in Canadian Coast Guard in the Western region. So these pillars for Canadian Coast Guard Western region SAR success include building community resilience through relationships, interoperability, and sustainability. Annual training exercises with the requirement for continuous improvement will provide sustainability for the maritime SAR and communities on the Pacific Coast. I want to take a moment here to identify how the IMRF supports Canadian Coast Guard. So IMRF supports Canadian Coast Guard through fostering SAR organization and communication, sharing global experiences and technologies, and providing SAR training support opportunities, and ASDMB advocacy. So there are multiple ways in which the IMRF does support Canadian Coast Guards, as I mentioned, by bringing together the global SAR organizations to promote maritime safety and communication through their website and webinars such as this one we're on today, hosting international conferences to promote shared experiences and technology with subject matter experts. And IMRF also provides maritime SAR training, operational skills, including MRO planning to promote safety on the water. I also want to take a moment here to recognize some folks from Canadian Coast Guard in the Western region who are runner-up awards for Women in SAR, Miss Sarah London, who are colleagues of mine, and Mr. Captain John Millman, who works with me at the JRCC in Victoria. Just a big round of thanks to the IMRF for their contribution in recognizing these fantastic individuals. And the IMRF is truly a maritime SAR partner for Canadian Coast Guard, and we thank you for all your efforts and your coordination. Thank you so much for this opportunity today. I'd like to take a moment to introduce the next guest speaker, Mr. Captain Yuri Nordstrom from the Finnish Lifeboat Institute. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Geoffrey, for an interesting presentation and for that kind of introduction. And good afternoon to all. Great to be back with you guys. I promised to Caroline to reflect on our behalf of a bit to the busy IMRF plan in place, but I feel that I have to paint first with a bit bigger brush, so here goes. Dear friends and colleagues, I think that in this time of surprises and uncertainty, the future looks unpredictable, even frightening. Attention is easily drawn to the latest crisis and the present moment, but building a fair, sustainable, and inspiring future requires a shared understanding of a longer-term picture of change. But what has already changed? What is changing right now, and how are these changes interlinked, and so on? What is preventing change, and especially what is possible? I think there's lots of possibilities in these times. These are some of the questions which we have also been asking ourselves recently in terms of funding, volunteers, and other changes in our operating environment. The Finnish Innovation Fund, Sitra, published recently the Megatrends 2023 report, which provides a big picture view of the most significant changes of our time and brings understanding to this era of surprises. Apart from providing insight into megatrends, the report highlights obstacles to change and opportunities for the future. So, Sitra's megatrends describe the big picture of change through 5 different themes. There's nature, people, power, technology, and the economy. Nature's carrying capacity is being eroded as we live in the midst of ecological sustainability crises. Challenges to well-being are increasing as changes in the operating environment influence people's daily lives. General uncertainty about the future is increasing mental health problems. Even geopolitical power struggles have returned with a vengeance, and the rules-based world order and trust in the institutions is wavering. Technology and data are increasingly embedded in people's daily lives. And also cracks are showing in the foundations of economy as global inequality increases and the ecological sustainability crisis unfolds. Even increasing extreme weather phenomena and the collapse of nature's contributions to people are eroding the functional conditions of the economy. We have had our fair share of crises. The recent major crises, the COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia's invasion of Ukraine with its manifold consequences, have made the interdependent character of our world more tangible. While these challenges seem big, a different future is possible, I think. In Sitra's vision, it is possible to prosper by building a fair, sustainable, and inspiring future that ensures people's well-being within the limits of planet's carrying capacity. We can adapt to the limits of that carrying capacity by investing in the ecological reconstruction of society and daily life. We can reform the economy and the principles of sustainability and responsible development. We can strengthen democracy by increasing participation and empowerment. All this requires future-oriented thinking and the capacity to change. In my opinion, the IMRF aims to facilitate similar developments in 2023 in its own field of operation through the ambitious initiatives and activities Caroline and Matthew just showed us, and also Jeffrey underlined. For us at the Finnish Lifeboat Institution, it means that we are heavily engaged in SAR UK with our head of training, with our head of safety and operations manager, Marco. We are supporting women in SAR seminars in Africa with our head of training, Jaakko. We are very much looking forward to the WMRC in June, where we aim to send a delegation not only consisting of board of directors and other staff, but also volunteers to learn, to collaborate, and share ideas and experience. We have also submitted a training-related paper to the Congress, which we hope to present. And we are extremely happy to be part of the IMRF Lifeboat Crew Exchange for the 9th time since the beginning in 2012. The LCEX has been one of the highlights for dozens and dozens of our volunteers over the years, and friendships made there are for life. So thank you very much, Matthew, for taking the responsibility for coordinating that for us this year. In addition to all the other activities already mentioned, I'm also very much looking forward to our regional meeting in autumn this year, finally in person. Furthermore, thanks to the extended family we feel we belong to, we are working together with our other members of IMRF, also bilaterally. For instance, planning a personal watercraft course with the SSRS and working closely also with our Estonian counterparts. So to conclude, I'm very much looking forward to meeting many of the old you guys and also a lot of new friends at the World Maritime Rescue Congress in Rotterdam in June to celebrate the nearly 200-year-long history of the KNRM and the superb work all our volunteers do every day of the year all around the world. We are here to stay, so let's cherish that. Thank you very much. So, and for next, if I may ask Caroline, Matthew, and Jeffrey to join me in the panel for discussion and questions, and Matthew has promised to chair this session, so the floor is yours. Thank you.
Great, and I just wrote, thank you very much, Jori, a great overview. I wrote in the chat there, so feel free to write any questions, and we're ready to answer hopefully whatever you have. Let's see here. See, Marcelo, you wrote a question. How many countries participating? And I assume you're referring to the WMRC, or are you thinking about another, such as the Crew Exchange? So a little bit of clarification would be great if you could write that, Marcelo. And I see also in waiting for Marcelo's response, I see Björn from Iceland. Will there be a video of the conference, which can be looked at later? If you're referring to this webinar, absolutely, yes, we'll put that on. The conference itself, I'm not sure how much is being taped. Caroline, you might have a...
Yeah, I think it's in previous years. We will put the abstracts we can on a portal, the abstracts that we have permission and the presentations that we have permission. We'll share those with the delegates. I don't think we're planning to film the conference, and therefore I don't think you'll be able to watch it on playback or anything like that. So if there is things in the agenda that you do want to listen to in person, I do strongly advise that you attend and sign up and register.
Sounds good. I actually have a question for Jeff. Looking at your presentation, you talked about exercise that you involve, external and internal partners. Do you have any examples of external partners that maybe weren't the obvious ones?
Most definitely, Matthew. That's an excellent question. Canadian Coast Guard strived really hard to always include, as many of federal, provincial, and municipal partners as we can. So I'll give you sort of an example of some of that. We obviously trained very closely with the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary, and in Western Region, the Royal Canadian Marine Search and Rescue team. We train with all of them during these lifestyle exercises. We also train also with RCMP, Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who have police vessels on the water that patrol the coast, everything from smaller ribs or larger ribs rather, up into large catamaran-style vessels, which patrol the coast for enforcement, but also assist in search and rescue. Department of Fisheries and Oceans also have vessels that patrol the coast and enforce fisheries regulations and acts, and they also can conduct search and rescue as well. So we invite them as well. Parks Canada also have parks on the water. They have large ribs and patrol vessels that participate in certain parts of the coast. I'm just trying to think. On larger scale exercises, we try to involve the U.S. Coast Guard, our partners to the north and the south of us. I'm just trying to think. First Nations as well. I mentioned a new chapter of the Coast Guard Auxiliary, which includes Coastal Nations Coast Guard Auxiliary. And there you saw some photos in my slide presentation of some of their cruise-style vessels. They're a Titan welded aluminum boat, very capable. So we never want to exclude anyone from the participation, and we see this as the fabric of SAR on our coast, where we have 27,000 kilometers of coastline, which is really large to cover. And, we need all our partners together to work together. And we take the approach that if we don't know you, we want to know you, because we don't want to be shaking hands at 3:00 in the morning. We want to be well versed with how we work together to create that interoperability model and execution of SAR.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. I'm going to use that, Jeff. If we don't know you, we're going to get to know you or want to know you.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
It's great.
That's the takeaway from today, definitely. Fantastic.
No, that's really, really great. Thanks for the opportunity to present today. And I think, too, as well, I would add that, the relationships we have on the coast here with our partner agencies extend to a global level through the IMRF. And that's what makes this such a great forum and interaction. It's the relationships we have like this internationally that contribute and support. So
great.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see that we actually did answer one of the questions that was in the chat. So Bjorn, yes, this webinar will be available at a later date in the members only section, perhaps. So let's see what else we have here. Is the Rescue Boat Course Working Group still open to nominations from Jason Connery?
Yes, it is. If you'd like to get in touch with me, I'll just pop my email address in the chat box, Jason. That'd be great. Thank you. And also, if anyone else is interested in joining that working group, then by all means contact me as well. Thank you.
Good. Before I take another chat question, I have a question for Yuri. Yeah. So you've hosted the Lifeboat Crew Exchange. It's not only about sending people away, it's also receiving them. And almost thinking that you also hosted the Women in SAR course and larger conference over a couple of days. How have you seen hosting as an impact on your organization? Rather than just sending out just a couple of people to different countries, you get people at your home.
Excellent
question, Matthew. And I have to say that I agree with you 100%. If I'm guessing right, I think it's equally important to be able to host and get people coming over, because I think you learn at least as much as by sending people over. Of course, we had the possibility to send people over to Germany, to UK, to many other places. And that's always a blast for the guys and girls who get to go abroad. And they come back with a lot of good tools and good ideas when they come back, and they distribute it forward. But I think it has been at least equally satisfying to be able to host, to get the group together, totally people who haven't been known each other before, and after a few days they are a working lean rescue machine, and we have done a lot of good stuff with the groups we have had the possibility to host and work with. So definitely I would gladly encourage people to host, definitely. And and also it's a possibility because we can't send everybody abroad, but we can take those people to take part in the hosting and planning the program. And I think we have had varying programs over the years, but equally fun, definitely.
Yeah, it's my experience definitely as well, Yuri. Yeah. Thank you for your reflection. That you can expose a lot of trainers that aren't being sent abroad, but the people that come to you, and there's dissemination of information or just feeling of the SAR culture, that you're part of something larger.
Yeah, definitely being a part of something larger. I think we have had something like about 60 people going abroad over the years, but taking part in the whole experience, we have had more than 100. So definitely worth it.
Cool. Thank
and
you
it doesn't cost you so much either.
No.
If I may add. Yeah. It's just another course, and we have like 50 courses anyway, so just a bit longer course. So
yeah, I can say that, outside of the Lifeboat Crew Exchange format, is that I felt that the IMRF has enabled cross-cultural exchanges that can come up informally or formally. So it's not always locked into those dates in September through the past 10, 11 years now. So it's definitely one of the value-added parts of being part of the family.
Yeah, I think it's called networking nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, so I think, like I said, those connections are made for life when you are doing something together for a few days or for a week, and then we have these teams and webinar jams and whatever emails nowadays, and it's always wherever you go all over the world, you have always friends to go to.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just looking in the chat here. If there's any more questions, I see just Charles Bosch mentioning that you're working on multiple IS department. You're working at IS network department and currently busy with SAR projects that would be beneficial. Yeah, I hope you can be part of the IMRF family as well. It sounds great. I would love to hear what you have to say. There's a specific question. It's a little too technical for me, so I'll leave it to the panel. Is there any plans regarding the newer IHO S100 standards, e-navigation charts, and SAR? Maybe not a question we can answer right here, but anyone want to field that? Probably not. Might have to get back to you on that, Julian.
Not my area of expertise, but maybe we can ask David.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get back to you with that, Julian. But thank you very much for the question. So,
Julian, if you email me that question, then I can make sure that we can email you back. That would be super helpful. So I'll put my email addresses in the chat box, and so if you email that to me, then I'll try and allocate somebody who can help you with it. Thank you.
Carolyn, it's Jeff from Canadian Coast Guard here. Could I ask a question of the other panelists?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Just in the spirit of kind of the collaboration of the panel and the knowledge, I mentioned in my presentation earlier around the development of these MRO frameworks, and I just want to kind of reflect back to the MRO conference in Gothenburg this past summer, which I was part of, and just amazed by the whole piece and how well it was put together, and all the delegates that were there, and as well as the subject matter expert course taught by U.S. Coast Guard, which was fantastic. I guess maybe for Yuri and for Matthew is this framework approach we've taken for shoreside to mesh with the bigger MRO plan, so you have this continuum. Is this something that's taking place in both your organizations, or has there been more discussion or planning around that, and are you doing this?
I can start to say that it has to be thought of. That's for sure. We see in practical examples, working on the shoreside response with medical first responders, ambulance, rescue services, port authorities, you name it. Usually that need is born out of necessity and an accident. So the planning part in our country, particularly with the Swedish Maritime Administration and stuff, I'm sure is working together with the other partners to better that for sure.
Yeah, if I may continue from what Matthew just said, so definitely, I think, or I feel that first of all, the SSRS, they have done a tremendous job in keeping up the agenda or the topic on the agenda on MRO. I had the privilege and possibility to take part in the MRO subject matter expert course a few years ago, not the last time, but I think it was the time before. And I have participated all of the MROs except for the last time because I couldn't, and that was a big shame. So I think we have been looking at those things for quite a while. I think in Finland in general since Estonia, I think, and the Finnish Border Guard, which is also a part of or a member of the IMRF, they have done a lot of work in relations to that. And also we, at the moment, are looking at things related to MRO, not just big accidents at sea, but also other things which kind of relate to the subject matter in general. So definitely a big shout out to SSRS and the IMRF for keeping up this topic on the agenda.
Yes, thank you. That's excellent. I just can't say how much I enjoyed the participation there last year, and it highlights, all the partnerships and relationships that have to come together in that situation with an MRO. We are very keen and developing these partnerships and these frameworks that will help to identify folks and agencies and organizations that would all come together to support something of this sort of magnitude. And I guess, as I sort of mentioned in my presentation as well, there's been an ever increasing volume of cruise ship traffic on the Pacific coast going to Alaska. So every year they increase more and more. So this is something we're very concerned about and really want to kind of action and develop as we go forward. So for me to participate at that conference last summer there in Gothenburg was a fantastic opportunity. Really was great to meet all of you and to build those international relationships that can support as well.
Yeah, definitely. Again, that was building up that network and making those connections. I remember a gentleman from La Reunion, so that's somewhere on the African coast, and that was I never knew people lived there, but that's great.
It was a pleasure having everyone, and just to reiterate and really emphasize what you're saying now is like the conferences we have around MRO, it's the participants, it's all the delegates together that make the conference, together with speakers, of course, that present relevant and fantastic information. And that's kind of my perspective, IMRF in a nutshell. IMRF is few people, individuals in the Secretariat that are doing a fantastic job with the resources they have, but it's the members and the delegates that participating that make this global SAR commitment. So yeah, work together more on the MROs, definitely, Jeff. And the more I learn, I'll definitely share, and that goes for everyone here. I'm looking if there's any more questions here. There's a specific question to you, Jeff, about you mentioned the challenge of recruiting volunteers, and if there's any specific steps. That's a whole huge separate conversation on itself. But are there any steps to address the challenge of trying to recruit?
Yeah. Hi, Matthew. Thanks for this opportunity. I think, as I kind of mentioned in the presentation, we wanted to identify it in our organization, but I don't think we're alone here. I think this is a global challenge of recruitment and retention of personnel into the maritime sector. We have a fairly vigorous media campaign to try and recruit, much like every other SAR organization or government organization, even for that matter. It just seems there's been throughout the pandemic, there's I think it was sort of the globe's perfect storm of, attrition through retirees that were maybe hanging on longer, but then the pandemic developed and they decided this is going to be the year they went. New generations coming in and being introduced to the maritime field. The steps we're taking is much like many of the other organizations to try and promote through our websites and media. And as we develop partnerships through a lot of the programs and SAR training we do, that's a great source for recruitment as well. And so that's sort of some of the approach we've taken, just trying to get the word out there and showcase, the great jobs and employment that, the maritime sector can offer, whether it's, SAR or other opportunities within that marine world or sector, so.
Oh, great. That's good. Thank you very much for that question, Pat. It's a broad one, definitely, and it's a challenge, like you said, Jeff. It's probably not just in Canada, or it's everywhere with most maritime sectors. But it goes beyond the recruiting process of just exposing and who we are, but it's also what are you recruiting to? It's having a good workplace, having a good culture, whether it be voluntary or employed, that people want to stay, and we know that people stay a very long time. Some people stay so long that they hang on as long as they can because they love it, saving lives. So, is there any more specific questions? I might have lost my place, but we can
There's
help
one
each other.
from Rick.
Yeah? Rick Jeffrey, do you run a cadet program from under 21 applicants?
That's being addressed to me, to Canadian Coast Guard?
Yeah, sorry, Jeff. Yes.
Yeah, no problem. Yes, in fact, we do. So just without getting too off track, the Canadian Coast Guard has a college in Sydney, Nova Scotia on the east coast of Canada. And it's much like that of a university. There's a relatively small intake, which is probably increasing now because of, again, recruitment and those types of things. But it's a 4-year program. And the candidates enter with as postgraduate from high school, and there's requirements for strong academics in the science field, mathematics, etc. And when you enter, if you are selected to enter, it's a 4-year program. Part of that program has a C phase to it, where cadets will pursue two lanes, one of two lanes. So either it's the deck side, which would be navigation, or engineering side. And the college itself has a full mock-up of all the training facility that they need and instructors. And it runs all year. And like I said, it's a 4-year program. The cadets will graduate from that with a degree in either sciences or engineering. They then will be offered, a position as a supernumerary or cadet on board one of the vessels, either East Coast, Great Lakes, or West Coast. And from there, they progress into, often cases, senior leadership, such as engineers on board ships and vessels, or captains and officers. And so it's a fantastic program, great opportunity. It's paid for. So the tuitions, there's no tuition fee for the candidates. So they have a very tight selection board for applying to this. So it's fantastic. So.
Cool. Great. So I think we might have answered most of the questions, and we may have lost one in the chat. Any closing remarks? I think I just want to say thank you for the 60 plus people that have chosen to participate today. And I'm sure many others are going to review this in the recorded version. And just really looking forward to seeing as many people as possible in Rotterdam and other places as well. So anything else from our speakers?
Just from myself, I'd just like to take this opportunity to really thank Carolyn and her whole team at the IMRF for putting this together and for allowing us the opportunity to participate and present today. It's really been fantastic, and it's just a great feeling. Also, I'd like to say thanks to Matthew and to Yuri for their contribution today. And it's great to see you again. I hope that the time in the future isn't so great before we see each other again. And just like to say thanks again for everything today.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. And thank you guys for presenting. And as the panel said, thank you so much for joining us, listening to us. We look forward to meeting you all in person in the year ahead. As we've touched on, we have lots of opportunities to get together. And as always, if you want to stay in touch with us, you can join us, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, join our mailing list, and visit our website. We've got a whole host of resources, and we're constantly updating them. So thank you from us, and look forward to seeing you all soon in person. And thank you, Matthew, Yuri, and Jeffrey. Thank you very much from me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you. See you guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye for now.